Alrighty. It's Saturday, sometime in March. I've lost track of what number day it is. Been a long time, almost too long. Yes, I do got the CB mic down, so it doesn't interfere with the recording. Had to fiddle around with the lighting a little bit. I almost forgot where to even place the camera. Oh, well, what have I been up to? First of all, haircut. Trimmed the beard a bit. One might even say I almost look a bit younger. Freight has been very slow. Very slow. I mean, the miles have picked up, don't get me wrong. I've been getting some steady miles. But it's the slowest it's been in the record of the business. This is the worst freight recession on record. Have I mentioned that before? A lot of companies and owner-operators are struggling. The freight just isn't there. And this goes for both the Canadian freight market and the American freight market, which also the Canadian freight market is heavily dependent on how well the American economy is doing and how willing they are to trade with us as economic partners, which economic relations have been somewhat, dare I say, they've been tested in recent years by the current powers that be, which really isn't ideal considering the Americans are our biggest trading partners. So, not a lot of pro-economy monetary policy. There's a lot of spending money, but not a lot of manufacturing the things that money buys, or even providing services and goods that money buys. It's just print this money, which circulates in the economy, and then it increases the price of everything because there's more money supply. Well, we didn't all of a sudden manufacture a lot more stuff. If anything, we're manufacturing less and less because people are affording less and less. So inflation, all it does is make things more difficult financially for everyone. Most especially the private citizen like you and me. Anyhow, before that gets too heavy into an economic policy discussion, as I frequently like to do on the Discord server, those of you who are watching from there, you know who you are. I always like to talk about economy or politics. It's my pastime, really, and mostly I do it for the funny. Like, come on. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter which side you're on. Most of the politicians are only in it for themselves anyway. Ironic, because they should be representing the people's interests, especially when you think about Parliament in Canada, the House of Commons. It's named House of Commons for a reason, because it is House of the common people, not the white collars that are in there or the special interest groups. Anyhow, speaking of which, that kind of ties into this whole economic discussion, kind of relates to me because, it's that time where I do want to get a first property, but properties are just so expensive. I mean, it's possible. It would have to be way out in the countryside, which I prefer anyway, but it's just far more difficult than it needs to be because not nearly enough houses are being built. There's not enough skilled labor to even build the homes. And then the whole permitting process just takes forever in Canada. We're one of the slowest to issue building permits in any of the OECD countries. There's a number out there of where we rank, but the point is we're one of the slowest, and we shouldn't be. Especially because we have a severe housing shortage. the most severe in any of the developed countries, as far as I'm concerned. So that affects housing prices. And then, well, freight's slow. Would I hop to a different company? No. No, as far as I'm concerned, pretty much every company is going to experience similar issues. Where you're going to win on, say, the mileage rate at a different company, then you're going to have more headaches with either the equipment not being as up to snuff. Maybe you have to do more of the customs paperwork yourself. Where I'm at, it's pretty much headache-free. Short of the freight being slow, the truck, especially, it is an older one. It is approaching 1 million kilometers. So with these modern trucks, that's about time to replace them anyway. 1 million kilometers, over 8 years old, just get rid of it. Too many electrical things to go wrong. Especially with the winters in Canada and the salt that they put on the roads in Ontario. It just eats away at both the metal and the electronics. So, short of the truck being in the shop more often than I like it to be, but it is old, so kind of a given, and the freight market being slow, those are the only two drawbacks. Everything else is pretty much headache-free. Dispatch is good, no complaints there. Customs department, I have a customs department that handles all the broker paperwork, etc., etc. So all I have to do is just upload stuff onto my tablet and then drive, as I should. I get paid to be a driver and all the stuff associated with being a long-haul driver. So yeah, I want to switch companies. All things considered, it's headache-free, which is what you would want, especially out of a first company you would work for. So I've been very fortunate in that regard. I've heard some cliche horror stories, but they're cliche because they're true. Cliche horror stories of drivers just not being treated right, compensated properly at other companies, so I don't want to deal with that headache. I thought about maybe starting training. I want to save it for when I've got a year experience. When I can go into a truck stop in the evening, when it's busiest, and be able to park stress-free, knowing that, yeah, I might take a couple of minutes, but yeah, so what? I might be holding up a guy. I gotta park, as does he, more likely than not at that time of the evening. So when I can do that every time, pulling to a truck stop, and not have to be nervous that I'm holding up people, and I've got it down to within 5 minutes, and I can do it stress-free. It's more the component that I'm holding somebody up that gets me anxious. Other than that, if I'm alone, yeah, it can be the tightest spot it can be. I'll just take my time and get out and look if I have to. As any driver should. Because it's been a while since I've recorded, I'm just speaking whatever comes to my mind. Another reason I haven't really recorded much was, again, that switching companies idea. Should I do it? And I know I don't need to, and I know I shouldn't, because really it's just the slow freight market. It's not the company's fault, it's the monetary policy of the Fed's fault. Both in Canada and the States. And it doesn't matter which side of politics you're on, either side can do monetary policy better, which means produce more goods and services that money buys, not produce more money and just print money out of a printer. You're accomplishing nothing by printing money. That only creates inflation. So there's nothing wrong with the company. It's just economy reasons and the truck being old. Which I might be due for a new truck in a few months anyway. I hear once you get a year, they give you a new truck. I haven't been pestering them for a new truck because I do want to go to Poland for a month this coming Christmas. So I want to save my new truck for when I come back from Poland. I'll let go of this one when I go for my month to Poland. Then when I come back, then I'll get a new one. I am a little partial to the Peterbilts and the Kenworths than I am to the Freightliners because the sound system is just, oh. I gotta have my music. So it's like the movie Baby Driver. If you've seen that, yeah, it's sort of like that with me. Everything's in sync when I got my music on. And the ride quality is better than the Freightliner, I find. Cab of the Freightliner Cascadia tends to lean a lot more. You can take corners faster in the Peterbilts. Of course, you're still doing a limit. Unless you're a super trucker outlaw in those custom trucks who like to fly by. And then I'll see them pass me 5 times the same day. Obviously, they're stopping every time. That would drive me nuts, stopping 5 times a day. I like to stop maybe 2-3 times and just keep moving, not constantly stop and go, stop and go. Big reason why I hate city driving. Can't stand it. I've done local driving all my driving career. And this is why I've taken long haul work, because I can just sit, cruise for a few hours, stop when I want to, and cruise for a few more hours. It's a lot more slower pace, a lot less shifting gears routine-wise. Can't stand just constantly stop and go, stop and go. Just drives me nuts. Grinds my gears. Oh, what else is there? The Lego sets that I wanted. Oh, I wanted the Venator. I wanted all these things like I mentioned a couple of videos ago. Still haven't gotten around to it. Again, because of the 2 factors I mentioned. Freight is slow. Truck is in the shop too often. I mean, I'm getting by, but most important is that trip to Poland. I really want to do that, see my aunt and uncle. At least one more time while I still have the chance. Because they're getting up there in age, so I'm sure they'll be around for a few more years at least, but you know, in the last year and a half, I've lost 2 people that are close. The kind of age where you think you got at least a few more years and that's it, they're gone. And you didn't realize until they've passed on, the last time I saw them was indeed the last time I was going to see them. I thought I had more time. You know? Isn't that cliche? I thought I had more time. That's the biggest thing that people will say in their final days. You can ask them, well, what's one thing they wish they had more of in life? More time. Time spent with family or doing stuff they enjoy. Not, oh, I wish I worked harder. Nobody looks back on their life thinking, oh, I wish I worked harder. It would take a very big underachiever. When I say underachiever, I mean people who actually were detrimental to those around them. They were a bad influence to those around them and themselves. Then, yeah, they might have said, okay, I wish I did work harder. In that case, yes, that is a legitimate reason to have that view in your final days. Otherwise, majority of people, no. No, I wish I had more time. That is the most valuable resource that you have in life that you do not get back. It's not to be wasted. Every day is precious when you think about it. And I'm not going to go on some, philosophical, because this, because of that. That's why life is important. No. It is precisely because it is a non-renewable resource. You cannot get time back. That is why it is important. You have to be efficient with your time, not waste it doing things that are detrimental to yourself. Don't take time for granted. Opportunities come by, seize them, grab a hold of them. That's one thing especially I've noticed, even more so when I went long haul, is you drive by, you see everyone doing the 9 to 5 grind, and you can tell they're stressed. They got this routine, I gotta be there 10 minutes ago, got a family, yada yada yada. And you don't have to live like that. A lot of people have been conditioned into thinking, oh, I gotta work an office job, I can't work with my hands, I can't do anything in the trades or practical, that's beneath me because that's what my parents taught me. No. You do what pays the bills, ultimately, yes. But you also don't just pursue your passion. I find that very misleading. There's a gentleman that there's two of his, two videos recorded of him that I follow. Every now and then I rewatch. His name's Dan Penna. And he said, don't pursue your passion, but you can pursue anything that you have passion for. That's pretty much word for word what he said. And that's a very clear distinction, because if you pursue your passion, you often envision, okay, I want to do this one thing in life, this one career. For me, before, I used to be pursuing a career in aviation as an airline pilot. That's another video. But if you pursue anything you have passion for, that opens you up to several options. Well, I always knew I had passion for truck driving. In fact, that came before aviation. I have a passion for aviation, photography, filmmaking, video editing, presentations, i.e. sales, which I actually did, selling trucks for a few years. Again, another video. And if you pursue anything you have passion for, you'll find that you have all these pathways open to you, and you could eventually, perhaps even one day, combine everything. So whereas if you had that one path you aimed for, you're limiting yourself to that one trajectory. If you leave your options open, that leaves you with the freedom to seize opportunities that come your way you otherwise would have rejected. So don't back yourself up into a spot. And I find myself especially, I like to plan my life trajectory. But I plan in a general sort of flow chart that expands at the appropriate increments, okay? General goals that I have in life where I envision, okay, in a year from now, I want to achieve this. 2 years from now, I want to achieve that. Now, is there a specific date? No, because timelines are subject to change, and just like construction projects, usually they get delayed anyway. But an appropriate sequence of events of what order things must happen, and I stay on that trajectory, so there's always purpose in what I'm doing every day. And when you follow this general trajectory and pursuing anything you have passion for, that eliminates most of the uncertainty and the stress, I find at least. Because then you're working towards something. Your life has purpose. It's not just an aimless spinning the hamster wheel trying to pay the bills. You're working towards something, towards advancing your life, towards self-growth, self-fulfillment, ideally. That is what the goal should be. And don't subscribe to this thing of, oh, well, you shouldn't be asking for more, or rather specifically, a lot of people like to say you should be thankful for what you have. And I find a lot of people are misleading with that statement. Why, yes, you should be thankful for what you have, but there's no greed in wanting for a better life, not only for yourself, but ultimately, my fortune is your good fortune, and your good fortune is my good fortune. Everyone should be striving for better, and not just being thankful for what they have. I use that term broadly because when I say everyone, I mean not absolutely everyone. A lot of people, I don't know if it's because they give up or they just get so caught up in their lives that they forget that they once wanted to achieve something in particular and they lost sight of it because they just got so busy with their everyday life. But again, I find a lot of people when they say, be thankful for what you got, I almost feel like it's, could I say disingenuous of a statement? Almost as if they're saying that to say, oh, well, you should stay at that level because I couldn't stand to see you succeed or something. I don't know. But they use it as an excuse of not to achieve more. Oh, somebody else has less than you. Frankly, I don't care if somebody has less than me. In fact, I want to see them have more than they have now. I won't settle for less, but I will settle for great. Yes, that's my capitalist side speaking. Mr. Burns. I always like to send that GIF on the Discord server. Those of you on that server, you know who you are, and you know which GIF I'm talking about. But anyway, kind of a bit of a scattered ramble today because it's been such a long time since I last recorded. Anything else I want to mention? Well, I'm at the Pilot Flying J in Fort Erie near the Canadian-American border. Doing my 36-hour reset now because the load doesn't deliver until 4 p.m. on North Carolina. I figured, okay, I could run really light for 3 days, deliver, then do a 36-hour reset, but that would be inefficient. Why not compress the drive time into just 2 days and take my 36-hour reset now? So I deliver 4 p.m. on Monday, and because I get my 70 hours of weekly drive time back, that leaves me open to do another potentially 1 long trip, 2 long trips, or 3 shorter ones. So, yeah. Not much else to say, but yeah, I want to record more. I will record more. I want to get a camera where I can get a display that pulls out so I can actually confirm that it's recording what I want it to point at, because with this iPhone I have to hope. Like, I have pretty much a general idea of where to place it here. I place it in the same spot, but if I want to record something outside, mount the camera outside, I want to see that display. Maybe the GoPros have that. I'll have to do some research. And yes, see Mr. Company Man in the office to ask if I'm allowed to record outside. You know, is the company name okay to show up in my videos, customer locations, or even when I'm trip planning, the maps and all that, is it okay? Because every company is a little different that way. And no, I never get around to seeing that guy during the daytime, because whenever I come by, it's usually outside of regular business hours. So, our yard's open 24/7, 365, but if I want to see Company Man, it's got to be during his hours. And my hours are, hey, the clock's ticking, I can make money. And I prefer to run at night too. Less traffic. And when it's the morning time, ideally, if I shut down in the morning time, everyone else has gone out of the truck stops, and I can snatch a spot in the truck stop comfortably. Because again, after 6 p.m., all the truck stops are full of company trucks, because everyone wants their showers every night. And there's only so many spots, and there's so many trucks. That's another thing I've been seeing a lot of too, is a lot less trucks in the last few months because of this freight recession. And it's not going to correct itself. It's not going to stabilize for at least, I'd say, another 12 to 14 months before it flattens out and stays at the low end, at the bottom end. And then with some good pro-monetary policy, okay, we're going to see more output of production of tangible goods and services that money buys, and less money printing, hopefully. Then the freight market will recover. Until then, it's going to stay weak, at least in North America. In Europe and Poland, where my aunt and uncle are, I hear freight standing, it's going solid, especially in Poland, because they're on an upend economic swing. Unlike in Canada, it's a downward economic trend, at least for the foreseeable future, which is unfortunate, but hey, Poland's seeing a lot of investment from the European Union, and that's going directly into their economy. In fact, they're supposed to outpace the UK's economy by 2035. And that's not trying to blow up my country of heritage through bloodline. Yes, I was born in Canada, but my parents are from Poland. That's not me trying to inflate Poland. And it's more like, oh, well, it's just a UK economy will underperform Poland's economy. It's not me trying to skew the angle, try to make Poland better than it is. No, it's genuinely performing well. And my aunt and uncle are saying, well, if you came to Poland, you can get a job tomorrow, the same day that you arrive. Because they're desperate for drivers. For years we had that shortage in Canada and the States. A shortage of drivers. Now, is there really a shortage of drivers? Shortage of drivers? I'll save that for another video. It's been long enough. But again, as you guys know, I'll tend to ramble in my videos anyway. Sort of an open-ended monologue. And even when I record some stuff outside of the truck too, I want to tell a story. Some sort of story that flows, that has a message to it. I don't want to just record, oh, this is what I'm doing today. That's boring. I want to tell a story from the perspective of a young Canadian who drives a truck and his perspective on the world. Having worked with, for a majority of my working career, guys that are at least triple my age, especially when I first started working 10 years ago. So I've developed a unique perspective, and people say, hey, well, why don't you tell that? Put it on the interwebs and let more of the world hear what you have to say. All right. That's what I'll do. I think a lot because I'm an introverted person. Might as well just put it up. And if people want to watch it, they watch it. Well, long enough. I'm going to end it there. And then I'll talk to you guys next time when I talk. See you around.